Hello, and welcome to RPG Roulette, the actual play podcast where everyone is the game master, except when they're not, because this is the final episode of RPG Roulette Martingale, where there has been but one game master, and it's been me. Hello, I'm Will Donaldson. Welcome to my show.
Wow, what an excellent intro.
You even got the first part right, like everyone's a game master.
Sometimes my fellow co-hosts don't even get that part right.
Sometimes we come in hot and we go, "Wow, thanks for coming to RPG Roulette, where we play games," and that's kind of the best.
Yeah, I even got the part where when I first started speaking, I like fucked up. I even got that bit right.
Classic.
Okay,
there's a couple of those.
Sorry, not to. It's hard. It happens all the time. It's fine. Whenever I record anything, I start recording, and the first thing I do is go hello. Mm-hmm. So it's fine. So, fellas, who's joining me today?
Who is joining you today?
I'll go. Hi, I'm Keaton. Keaton. It's me. I play Deacon, the big burly man, lost in the snow, half dead.
My name is Luke Howard, and I'm playing Josephus Featherswallow, who is currently horse-bound, trying to find my snow-riddled friend.
Hey everybody, this is Noah, and on this show I played Floyd Davis, who's become a hero for the first time in his life.
And finally, this is Hunter. I play Reginald Johnson, who is a Civil War veteran who is just happy that he is finally off that train.
I gotta say, I love the phrase "snow riddled" for someone who's like in the cold. It's a great image, being riddled with snow.
Yeah, just from all angles, and you're just like, oh, jeez. I've
like
never been as cold as I am right now.
Yeah, like you've been pelted with a snow Gatling gun.
Yes.
That's good. It's good stuff.
Feels as if it's going through my skin.
All right, gents, are we ready to go?
Ready to...
Let's hop in. Let's play.
A pair of weathered hands wash each other in a small bucket. Age and the elements have left rings on the knuckles like an old oak tree. Greying hair hangs limply downwards as a sallow-faced man lifts his head and faces himself in the mirror. He has sunken, dark eyes and a frown frozen in place. These are the features that look back at him, and he doesn't seem particularly fond of them. His eyes turn downwards towards an axe and a piece of rope resting against the door. A few knocks sound, and followed by a voice. "Ready to go, big guy?" He stares at his reflection again, closes his eyes, and sighs. He says quietly to himself, "It's a living." This is Martingale, Episode 5. The wind whistles loudly through Deacon Voltz's eyelashes and hair as he squints ahead, beads of snow hitting him in the face. He turns his head one way. Maybe that's the faint outline of trees he sees in the distance, but maybe he's just imagining it. He turns back. A few moments ago, Andrew Brigsby was lying face up in the snow, but a few yards away from him. Now, only the tips of his shoes are visible through the white snow. In a few moments, even those might not be there. Deacon wonders briefly, maybe Andrew's still alive. It wouldn't matter. Deacon, what are you doing?
I'm bumbling around. I think that's the best way to describe it. You know, I'm trying to pick a heading, and I'm eventually just going to start walking in the heading that I think is towards civilization or towards, probably civilization. I wouldn't make my bets on like any of my former crew still being near the train tracks. So I'm gonna do my best to try to walk towards Big Fork and just give it a good old try and start walking.
Alright, how do I want to do that? Could be Frontier, it could just be a hoodoo roll, if I'm completely honest.
Yeah,
I'll let you...
I get that.
I'll be nice. I'm going to say, do a Frontier roll and let's see if you can orient yourself.
I did increase my Frontier by 1 to get a better modifier. That'll be a 6.
A 6? Alright, you lift one foot with great effort and put it down in front of the other. You look down at your shoes and realize they are not exactly built for this much snow. But you keep walking. Ahead of you, you can't see too much as the snow and wind keeps whipping you in the face, but you have a general idea, you think, of where you might be going. Elsewhere, hooves crunch through the snow as you stick close to the train tracks, Josephus, or at least where you remember the train tracks being a little while ago. You're followed close behind by your accomplices, but there isn't much in this great void that stands out. What are you doing?
I am riding along, trying to follow the train tracks. I imagine there's some sort of like they're kind of built on like a little bit of a rise.
They are.
But so I'm just following that ridge, trying to find any sign of a scuffle, of any people that might be around, just looking for Deacon.
Okay. Behind you, Reginald and Floyd are riding with you. Behind them, the wagon with Nat and the Nesmond brothers is staying much further behind you, but Desmond is holding up a lantern and sort of holding it up high so you can generally orient yourself. Anyone else want to do anything, or do you just want to like roll and see if you can spot someone?
No, I think what I'm going to do is we're riding. I am going to pull Hector out of his cage and throw him up into the air to see if maybe he can try to find them from the skies as well.
Lifting Hector out of the box, he soars into the air and appears to disappear into the white fog above. Deacon, from in the middle of an endless, white, frenzied ocean, you hear an owl screech.
Yeah, no, I mean, that makes me stop for sure. And I just look up. I doubt I'm going to be able to see it, but I'm like, I might as well look up.
It is the same irritating, painful screech that made you wince several days ago. You would not forget it. It is coming to your northwest.
Interesting. All right. Yeah, I think I probably just I changed my direction, you know. I think to myself, I'm probably going to die out here. I can either die on the way to a town that doesn't care about me or try to make it back to those guys. So I'll pivot my heading towards where I heard the screech.
Do you have anything on you that you think might be useful?
Or
anything you think might not be useful and you might want to drop?
You know, I got my flask. That'll keep my insides a little bit warmer. So I'm definitely gonna take a swig of my whiskey. And I got a box of matches. You know, it's pretty, you know, windy out here. But I can try to wrap my hand around just to maybe that'll warm my hands up if I can keep it lit at all.
Okay, you take a big swig. You're walking in the direction of the owl. You can. You know, I'm gonna be honest with you. You can make a wiliness roll to see if you can light a match. I think it will be kind of futile.
Yeah, I see it being pretty
icy
futile.
Cold. So
yeah, I mean it's an 8, but
okay. You know what? I'll say, is that an 8 total?
Total, yes.
I'm gonna say you light a match and are able to sort of tuck your hands underneath your armpit while sort of holding the match and trying to keep the flame lit, keep the little flame lit. And you're walking in the direction of the owl screeching. As the rest of you sort of continue on, the owl Hector returns to you, Floyd. It is not really. It sort of just lands back on you. You can let it go again, but it didn't really. Hector didn't know what he was looking for or what he was doing out there.
No, I mean, again, I think more I think I kind of just give him a little scritch, but keep riding. And again, I'll keep letting him out more as an alarm, trying to see if he sees anything, and maybe try to, again, he's a loud little guy. Maybe Deacon will be able to hear him and find us as we are riding towards him.
You keep riding, every now and then Hector letting out a screech. And after a while, Deacon, the screeches get louder and louder, and you start to see the line of trees that you may or may not have been imagining solidifies a bit more, and your sense of geography returns. And after a while, you see the lantern of the carriage and 3 figures riding towards you. And at this point, your legs feel just about to give out. And the rest of you, just barely in the distance, see Deacon's silhouette. And Josephus, you're the leader of the posse right now, and you are out ahead.
Yeah, I'll ride right up to him, and I'll get out and off my horse, and I'll kind of help him up to his feet and be like, all right, come on, let's get you on the horse, Deacon.
As you jump off the horse, you are surprised just how deep you sink into the snow. It is deeper than you thought. It goes beyond your ankle and up to your shin about.
Oh, my cotton pads.
Deacon, do a toughness roll to see if you can pull yourself up
Sure.
onto this horse.
Yeah, that's an 8 total again.
All right, doing pretty good. You're able to get on the horse. There are a number of things you want to say right now, but as you open your mouth, you immediately close it. Nothing is as important as getting warm.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That like I think a million thoughts ran through my head when Josephus hopped down and helped me up, and I just couldn't bring myself to say any of them.
So you begin riding back towards the wagon. Nat is basically standing now as high as she can, waving the lantern back and forth, and you are able to see her and make your way over there. And as you get there, Desmond comes out. Desmond leans out and attaches some of your horses to the reins and says over the roaring wind, "Get in! Get in, everybody! Get yourselves nice and warm!" And Naymond leans out and helps pull Deacon in.
Cool.
Yeah, a nod.
Deacon is slumped into the wagon. He is slumped over and sort of dropped over Sheriff Wayne, who is tied up in the back of the wagon, who quietly says to himself again, "I didn't see any of your faces. I didn't see nothing." And Naymond leans out after helping you in and says to Nat, "Nat, just get us into the trees. Get us somewhere warmer than this, so we're not out in the open." And Nat yells something, but it is undecipherable, and the carriage turns around and begins to move. And you all sort of understand that getting to the relatively chill-breaking forest takes precedent over more or less anything right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Desmond in the wagon pours a little more alcohol out of a hip flask into your mouth, Deacon, and he begins sort of rubbing his hands together and blowing in them, and then sort of slapping your cheeks kind of gently.
Yeah, I think I'm grateful for the alcohol, and I let the slaps go on for a second, and then I just grab his hand and look
just
deep
sort of
into
like
his eyes and shake my
when
head.
When you do that, he says, "Oh, you get a movement back. That's good." And he takes his overcoat off and puts it over you like a blanket, and he looks you up and down, and he says, "Now, Deacon, you were out there in the snow a long time. Your legs are awful cold, and I don't think we'll be able to save them." And then he says, "I'm just kidding." And then he gives you a little kiss on the forehead. And
Who is this guy?
I should have died out there.
but what he is doing is he is sort of using his coat to almost dry with a towel your legs and arms, which are covered in snow and frost,
it makes
and
sense.
he's doing his best to get the frost off you and to warm you up.
And since we're inside the wagon, I think, pulled out a matchbox as well, and I'm just kind of lighting matches and like holding them in the car until they burn out, and then lighting another one just to get some sort of heat in here.
And the wagon very bumpily continues in a direction that none of you are really paying attention to as you stay inside. And during this, Naaman says, "Well, fellas, I think that was not a particularly successful score." And he reaches into his long trouser pockets and he pulls out a few rolled up paintings that he managed to swipe. And he says, "I didn't get too much, but where's Carlisle?"
Dead.
And
Carlisle was a
and-
traitor.
The Nesmond brothers look at you for a minute and sort of look a bit confused, and they said, "Well, who was he betraying?"
He betrayed us. He was trying to get back in with his old gang, and he told them about the heist job, and they were also on the train.
Naaman shakes his head, and Desmond nods and says, It's true, Naaman. We were caught unawares." Wait, no, other way round. Naaman was on the train. Again, that's so different. But Desmond looks very, very shocked this could have happened. And Naaman says, "Did anyone else manage to swipe anything good?"
They're all fakes.
I mean,
Yeah.
the only thing that I was really worried about was getting everybody off the train. I didn't take nothing.
So Reginald and Floyd, you didn't know the painting. You at this point you didn't know the paintings were fake, and the Naaman brothers didn't either. So the Naaman brothers, the Nesmond brothers, look at you and say, "What do you mean they're all fake?"
I just like slump my body weight over towards Josephus' direction.
The paintings were all fakes. I don't know what purpose they had being on that train or where they were headed, but they're next to worthless.
And Naaman at this point,
Might be worth kindling, but it's about it.
Naaman's hands are shaking as he looks down at the paintings, and he says, "You mean Deacon almost got killed, and Carlisle did get killed over a bunch of fakes?" And
Where was it that you got this information about the train heist, by the way?
Nat told them about it. You know that Nat told them about it and was essentially sort of setting them up.
Josephus, do you think that Nat knew that these were fakes?
I'm not sure.
And almost on cue, the ride had gotten less bumpy and the wind less loud for a little while. And at this point, from the front of the wagon, Nat falls backwards into it, and her hair is essentially completely white from snow now. Her muscles have all seized up. She is not literally frozen, but as frozen a person as you've seen that is still alive. She is
goodness.
shivering a little bit. Her teeth are gritted as tight as possible, and she just sort of lays back, sort of shuddering very slightly. And Naaman and Desmond get to work warming her up as well. Deacon, you have been healed for 4 HP.
Nice. I never hit adrenaline, right? I just got like real close.
You did not actually hit adrenaline,
Okay.
no. You were pretty darned close, but you didn't. So Nat has fallen back into the wagon, and her mouth is open, but her teeth are just gritted together, and her eyes are wide, and she is shivering as much as her stiff body will allow her to shiver.
I think Floyd is gonna not get out into the front of the cart, but is definitely going to kind of peer out to kind of see where we are and what's happening outside of the cart now that we've stopped.
Outside the wagon, you are in the woods, and you vaguely recognize this as a trail you took from the cave towards the tracks. But you are still kind of far from the cave itself.
Gotcha.
You get the impression that Nat got you into somewhere she thought protected you from the elements before her body gave out, or she decided to fall back into the warmth of the wagon. Relative warmth of the wagon.
Yeah.
Well, we're not close to the cave, but I can tell we're heading in that direction. I can probably steer the cart towards the cave, at least maybe trying to start heading that way, if we think it would be warm enough there.
We need to get as close to the caves as we possibly can in this wagon before the horses die, or else we'll have to walk there ourselves through the cold.
All right, and then I think Floyd then is going to pull himself out into the front of the cart and then try to steer the horses.
I'm gonna do a roll actually.
Okay.
So this will be interesting. So let's see. Resilience. Okay. As you are going towards the front of the wagon, Nat grabs you with an icy hand on your pant leg, and when you look down, she, using all of her strength, shakes her head.
Okay, guys, what's she doing?
Nat, we need to get to the caves.
She looks at you, Josephus, with her eyes wide and sincere, and shakes her head again.
I just thought we should go back to the cave because we could get out of the snow.
How protected are we? And how, could we try to wait out the storm here in the wagon, or in Floyd looking outside? How bad does it look, and how long will this storm last, does he think?
I would accept a hunting roll for this.
Absolutely.
But I'll tell you immediately that being out in the open was basically suicide. Even just being in the forest, it's a reasonably dense forest, and is not, it's catching a bit of the snow from above, but it's mainly preventing the wind from cutting you as much as it was.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, and then that hunting roll is a non-natural 8 as well, just in.
So you get the impression this might be a snap freeze, meaning that it's coming down hard, but in the forest you can actually feel, despite the wind, the air is warmer, and you think that these conditions won't actually last too much longer. It won't be warm, but you don't think it will be coming down this much in a little while longer.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I think I get back fully into the wagon and be like, well, from what my understanding is, and looking at what's happening around us, if we hunker down just for a little while, these conditions will pass. I mean, it ain't gonna be the most comfortable, but as long as we all huddle together and just stay still, the storm will pass, and then we can make our way back to Big Fork, probably with relative ease, or at least not with the risk of automatically dying or nothing.
Naymond, looking at the painting, says, I know they're fake, but I got 4. And he sort of holds them up and he says, a split's a split, fellas. You guys want one?
No, you can keep them.
And he looks down at them a bit defeated again.
If you ever settle down somewhere, they might look nice on your wall. It'll remind you of the time you spent together. I'm still just lighting matches and...
So, Deacon, you're getting a little bit of your strength back, though I think you are, it's fair to say, harrowed and a bit drunk.
Yeah, I would be.
Actually,
yeah.
you've been plied with alcohol, so I think you're relatively drunk at this point.
Okay. Except, I also probably just bundled up because the person I'm most interested in talking to is Nat, but I don't think she's in talking position right now.
Yeah, she is an icicle.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you guys want to do?
Honestly, I think...
This is my wagon, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to actually just start chucking pallets of bottles outside the cart.
Uh-huh.
And just to give us room to... we're not gonna spread out lay down and
Sure.
But Just trying to, bottles are cold.
Desmond says, "What?
And,
How do you know those were there?"
oh, well, I mean, there's got to be something in the back of these wagons.
Oh, okay.
We stole it from the town, so. But I'm just like tossing the stuff out the back. But I think that there was like cloth coverings on the bottles, like separating them. And so I think that I'm like, as I throw the actual like pallets out of the bottles, I just hand blankets to people.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Bundle
up. At this point, Nat is still shivering, but she gets out. I'm sorry.
What are you sorry for, Nat?
She says, "No one meant to get hurt," and she sort of looks able to lift her head and says, Who were those guys?"
Brigsby.
Her head sort of slumps down hard and goes, "God damn it."
Nat, I know you were trying to set up something. I think he looks at the Nesbitt brothers, Floyd does, and then just shakes his head and looks back at Nat. This whole thing was to get a whole bunch of publicity for Big Fork, but this ended up being real dangerous. Now, what in the hell happened back there, and what are you gonna do, or what are you and the mayor gonna do to help fix it?
She, shivering again, says, "Paintings, fake," and she sort of winces as she says that, and she says, "I didn't want anyone to get hurt." And she gets out, "Plan, always a plan," and she looks truly exhausted, because if you remember, she already had a point of exhaustion from getting the wagon to you. She has not slept, and now she has been out in the cold manning the wagon and is near catatonic, or is trying her best to speak to you, but it is just too difficult and too painful.
I think I wrap another blanket around her and I just say, "Get some rest."
She looks wide-eyed and says, "Don't go back to the cave."
Is there a trap there?
Probably.
She looks up again and she manages to get out. "I'm sorry."
All right. I sit up for the first time. I'm not standing up. No, I look at Josephus and I go, "This plan seems busted. What are we doing?" Oh, yeah. And I think I just untie the gag on Wayne's mouth and I go, "By the way, we work for the mayor." Then I just look at the Nesmond brothers.
Yeah.
The Nesmond brothers are... There's a look on their face like they want to say something, each of them, but they're just trying to piece things together, and they can't quite figure it out. And Desmond says, "Did you guys betray us too?"
That would imply that at one point we were truly on your side.
Yeah, I just nod.
Oh, Josephus, you saying that? Oh, they liked you.
Hey, whoa! Don't take it the wrong way.
You just the look of like anguish on, particularly Desmond's face, is just heartbreaking.
Now listen.
What's going on?
Look.
Well, don't worry. It looks like we got the tail end of this deal too. So at present, I think all of our best bets is to figure out how to get away from Big Fork.
What
so,
to do
wait,
now?
Naaman says, "Nat betrayed you guys, who are betraying us, but then because Carlisle betrayed us as well, we all got betrayed."
Yep.
Right, so we're all in the same boat. So how do we move forward from this?
Naaman does not look happy. He looks really upset, and he looks down at the paintings again, and then he looks back at all of you and says, I still don't know what's going on. All I know is you can't trust nobody in this world."
That's fairly accurate.
I think I look towards Reginald and Floyd, and you two got your heart set on returning to Big Fork, or?
I most certainly do not. I've been traveling this part of the country for a while, and it's obvious that my future here is not very bright, so I'm going to make my ways to some other part of the country.
Wait, you mean You mean none of you want to actually figure out what's happened here? We're just going to let them get away with all this?
Wayne says, I want to know what happened. I want to know why I got tied up and burned a wagon in the cold.
Floyd, if we push too hard here, things are just going to get worse. I mean, we got lucky to get off that train with our lives. The way I see it, if we keep pushing, we're going to end up dead or in jail.
And if we go back to that cave, likely the mayor has set a trap, either with, his own goons or someone else who's going to just take these brothers into custody, which they really haven't done anything wrong at this point, so they don't need to be taken into custody. It's just a whole mess.
If we don't do anything, then the mayor can go and do this again to some other poor schmucks like us who are gonna do something even worse. May end up actually getting people, like, good, innocent people killed.
You wound me.
The way of the world.
Now, I want to point out, there is a chance that innocent people died on that train.
Mm-hmm.
Because
sure.
there were like the train guards on there.
Yeah. Look.
Yeah, I took that as Floyd insulting us.
Yeah.
Oh no, it 100% was insulting them. Them and the Brigsby gang.
Look, Floyd, I'm a con man, all right? There's nothing else to it. I know when to cut my losses and run, and this is one of those scenarios.
Don't you ever want to try to do something different? Actually make some good change? Sure, we don't gotta go back to the cave and spring a trap, but maybe we could go to the mayor ourselves, confront him, and tell him that he can't do something like this ever again.
And
Naaman
Naaman says, well, I want to know what's going on. I want to know why I got a bunch of fake paintings.
I am interested to know why all the paintings were fake.
Listen, especially, I don't want to stoop to this level, but he points at Nat. We got a hostage, don't we? Don't y'all need some sort of leverage to be able to get into something? We could ride into town right now, holding Nat as hostage, and go talk to the mayor, and at least get some answers.
I'm like, you realize this is the new sheriff right here, listening to you say that.
Wayne says, oh man, I'm your hostage. What am I, chopped liver?
Double the leverage.
Yeah, I think I raised my eyebrows. I didn't expect this coming from Floyd, you know?
I look at Deacon and I say, Deacon, the mayor did have some nice stuff in that big house of his.
If you all have a death wish, I'll join you.
And Desmond claps you on the shoulder, Deacon, and says, come on, buddy, what else you doing today?
Yeah, die in the snow, die in the mayor's house, it's all the same.
Yes, brothers, if you truly want to score, perhaps we should do a bit of looting of the mayor's house.
Naaman shrugs and blows his nose on one of the paintings.
Naaman, the mayor likely has a few paintings that would be of much more value than those. So really,
Man, if you keep trying to convince me, I'm nodding my head.
You just kind of seem really sad about those paintings. And I mean, sometimes a con doesn't go the way you want. But that doesn't mean that you are going to be sallow about it. You just gotta buck up and on to the next one.
He says, I just thought it would be a good score. And I think with that, the Nesmond brothers look at you, Reginald, sort of expectantly.
Well, if we're going to do this, the way I see it, if the mayor has set a trap at the cave, he has some of his manpower committed to that right now. So we need to strike while his manpower is committed elsewhere.
They nod. And
let's stick it to the mayor, rob his house while he's gone.
And Naaman jumps into the seat of the wagon, and the wagon slowly begins moving forward.
I guess I turn to the sheriff, and I'm like, to clear things up, Mayor of Big Fork told us to join these goons for a heist and then stop them for good publicity. So yeah.
Mid-explanation, he throws up a bit. Still queasy from the dart.
I turn to Josephus. Should find a way to not get arrested from this guy.
So you begin to travel forward through the woods, and as you do so, for lack of a better word, Nat begins to slowly thaw out. She gets some movement back. She begins doing hand exercises where she opens and closes her fists, and eventually is able to sit up a bit, and I think maybe shares some of your whiskey, Deacon, as the wagon sort of travels on, and the Nesmond brothers take turns.
Yeah, if she's up and able to drink whiskey, we should interrogate her.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say as well.
I'll let you start, Reggie, since I've talked a lot.
So I think while she's drinking the whiskey, I kind of go over and just sit next to her. Nat, I got a few more questions for you. You helped get us into this. I reckon it's time you helped get us out of it.
Nat looks at you, Reggie, and she looks at Floyd, and she looks back at you, and she says, "Getting you two involved was cruel on his part, I think. Sorry."
I just kind of nod and to show that I acknowledge her apology, but I don't verbalize that I accepted or anything. And then I look at her. So, the mayor, is he at the cave right now?
She shakes her head. Shakily shakes her head, I'll add.
Okay.
She says, he wouldn't go himself.
Well, that's
Who
just
is
as
at
well.
the caves?
She looks and says, Muscle.
Who's
I don't
assassin?
care at this point. I will pull my revolver out and point it at her and go, "You best start talking a bit more than you are." She obviously, she feels sorry for Floyd and for Reggie and not us at this point, and I get why, but she very clearly knows what's going on here. I would like her to spill the beans.
As you point the barrel at Nat, you see something in her eyes, Deacon. And it is a look that you sort of register as she sort of tilts her head downwards and looks at you. And it is an angry look, and it is a look that says to you, "Man, no one gets away with pointing a gun at me." But she is basically frozen. So she says, "Ask away."
What's going on?
She says, "You were meant to get on the train. You were meant to grab some paintings. You were meant to get off the train and head back to the cave." She says, she pauses a moment and says, "And then some others were meant to show up there, destroy the paintings, and bribe you guys. And bribe you all, or force you all to leave and never come back. Or," and she says this very begrudgingly, "deal with you." And she looks down at that part and says, "If I had been there, I would have made sure it wouldn't have been that outcome."
Okay, I think I unpull the pen back, I put my revolver away and I go, "Thanks for your honesty."
But why burn the paintings?
She says, she pauses a minute and says, "The museum is opening. The mayor bought a large collection of paintings. He then found out that they were all fake. However," and she looks up and says, "he insured them first."
Yeah, I had a feeling.
And you remember, Deacon, way back when you killed Dart, you found on his person a note that you couldn't make sense of that talked about the payee and the payer. And
I forgot about that completely.
And she says, "The rate he got on those paintings wasn't great, but he figured it was the only way to recoup his losses. The insurance, it covered acts of villainy. So they needed to be stolen or destroyed."
So the mayor set up people of his own town and some just people passing through?
Yeah, I think I go, "Hell, this ain't Josephus and I's first insurance fraud. He could have just told us."
Certainly, we would have been much more help if he had just let us in from the get-go.
Floyd is flabbergasted. He has no idea what you guys are talking about.
Nat says he didn't want partners. And she looks at you, Reginald, and actually, no, never mind. She looks at you, Reginald, and is about to say something, but then thinks better of it and continues looking down.
Nat?
Yeah.
I have an idea.
And she looks at you and says, "I'm tired of people people with ideas.
I keep going. I don't give it. Well, way I see it, you almost got a fine young man like Floyd killed, so you're going to listen to mine. When we ride up here into town, Mayor still trusts you, so I reckon we have you go talk to him and tell him that everything went the way it was supposed to go. Job went smooth. We're bought off. We all agreed to leave town, not speak of this endeavor anymore. Does that sound agreeable to you so far?
She says, he might buy it, but I don't know if the train will have reached Big Fork yet. If the train stopped and hasn't reached, he'll know something's wrong.
Well, sooner or later he's going to know something's wrong, because the rest of us are going to have a little talk with him as well.
She nods.
But I need you to go in first and kind of ease his suspicions. Make sure that he doesn't come out swinging or try and make a run for it, so to say.
She nods and she says, I didn't want things to go this bad. There's always something.
Well, hold on, Sheriff.
Uh,
I mean, you've heard all this, right? Surely this would be means to put the mayor behind bars.
He says, well, I mean, I ain't the sheriff yet until he announces me the sheriff, so
Oh, right.
if I plan on arresting him, I mean, that would be pretty silly on his part, right? It's just my opinion.
How old are you?
He looks in his late 40s.
Goodness, almost on your deathbed, aren't you?
Well, I am now. So,
Quality of life and whatnot.
Is there anything anyone wants to do before you get to Big Fork, or anything anyone wants to... Yeah.
Right after that conversation happens, I kind of turn and I wink at Josephus, and I turn back to the sheriff. Mr. Sheriff, if you can't be of any use to us, is there a reason we should allow you to stay on this wagon? And I'd like to do a hard talk roll.
Okay, go ahead.
So that's going to be a 7.
He says, I mean, I haven't seen your faces real good, and I can back up your stories. I can just go on my way back to Red Oak. I got family there. I'll just say, job was taken, and head on right back.
So what I'm hearing is you are inclined to work with us in getting rid of the mayor in whatever way we see fit.
Getting
to do
rid
so.
of? Oh my God! Please just throw me out when we get to Big Fork, and I'll waddle back on to Red Oak, please.
Reggie kind of pats him on the shoulder, but doesn't follow through in any other way yet.
Oh God.
I think I gotta like lean and whisper over to Josephus and be like, "We playing hero, or what are we still doing here?"
I wasn't joking. I want to loot the mayor's house.
Oh, okay.
There's money to be made there,
Oh,
and he's a bastard.
you're not wrong.
I don't care if I steal from him.
He's got crazy sallow eyes still. I'll have to keep an eye out for him.
Sallow eyes. What do you think his deal is?
I don't know, but I see death in them eyes. Or I saw.
At this point, the storm has abated and it is lightly snowing. You are getting into Big Fork as Desmond hops in the wagon and Namond hops out. And Desmond says, so I assume the big manor is the mayor's place?
That's true.
And Desmond pats his brother on the shoulder. And as you sort of peer out the wagon, you see the houses of Big Fork blanketed in snow. And you, Floyd, catch a brief glimpse of your barn, and you notice how one of the doors of the barn is just blown completely open, and it looks like snow is just spilling out of it. You didn't have any animals in there, however, it paints a grim, brief picture of the state of the Davis Ranch.
No, I think as he's looking at it, just the thought of, I'm probably never going to see that place ever again, just kind of floats through his head.
All right, so you are, the wagon clops through the empty streets of Big Fork and slowly goes up the incline to the mayor's house, which similarly is blanketed in snow, though a bit protected as there are 2 large oak trees on either side of it.
I think as we kind of get up there, Floyd is going to kind of help Nat kind of get up and be like, so you know the plan. You're going to go in there. You got to give us a signal of some sort once you're in and know that there's nobody in there so we can, head in ourselves so we can talk to them.
She nods and says, what do you want me to say?
I don't want you to say anything. And I think what he's going to do, he pulls his little cage for Hector, like, out of his jacket and sets it into her jacket. Hit the box. That'll be the signal.
That things are safe or that things are bad?
I look at the guys. What should the owl mean?
What should the owl mean?
Well, I mean, she's going to hit the owl and he's going to scream. That's the signal.
To come inside.
Yeah, I agree.
And she says, okay. And she gets out the wagon, still shivering, her rifle on her back, and she looks back at all of you and says, let's just try talking things out first, okay? And heads out, and the Nesmond brothers hop in, and they say, all right, fellas, you guys ready to do some looting and pillaging?
Yep.
Sure. I would say go easy on the pillaging part, but like, lifting some things, definitely.
I want to go over to Floyd. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but if we do get in a situation where things get hairy, you gotta remember, the mayor was willing to let you die for no good reason. I'm not saying we're gonna kill him, but if it gets to a point where that is in our best interest, just remember that.
My pa would not have stood for the mayor letting people be used like this. If somebody's got to do something about the mayor, I'll be the first one to do it.
Damn.
There's a good boy.
So
Shall we?
after a while, you hear a screech come from inside.
All right.
Yeah, I think as soon as it happens, Floyd pulls out his pistol and just jumps out of the cart and starts walking into the house.
So, yeah.
Reginald draws his sword and follows after Floyd.
So, Floyd, you quickly open wide the door to the mayor's house, and it swings open, and towards the end of the hallway you see Nat standing alone, and she's looking up, and she seems surprised when she sees you, and she looks over at you, and Reginald, you're close behind, right?
Yes.
So you two are in. I don't know if Deacon and Joe and the Nesmond brothers are.
I would have looked towards Josephus and then taken a walk around the outside of the house to check for anything out of the ordinary before I walked straight into this place.
Okay.
Ooh, a back door sounds like a great plan.
I want to use one of my abilities as we're walking in as well. I want to use my danger sense ability. As I am seeing that and everything. Yes. Yeah, once per game, you may ask the GM, am I in trouble? The GM will respond honestly.
Yeah, you are. And I'm going to say you immediately clock something has gone horribly wrong, because Nat is looking upwards. She has kind of registered you, but seems like she is distracted by something. And your eyes scan around and you quickly notice, oh no. And you put together what's happened. Hector is in the corner of one of the rooms that you can just sort of spy because the door is ajar, and he has a rat in his mouth. And you realize that wasn't the signal, that was Hector being hungry.
I look at Reginald and kind of be like, I guess we're doing this the hard way.
And
yeah, I reckon we are.
What I'm going to say is, I am going to say this is going to prevent you from being surprised.
Okay.
That you used that. But Nat looks at you, and you can see the gears turning in her head, that she doesn't want you, she wants to send you some kind of message, but there's no way that she can, as she looks back upwards, and you sort of piece together where the stairs were in the manor. So, Deacon, you are walking around the house.
Yes.
Along with Joe. So, as you're walking around, you see there is another door. The door does not have any glass on it, though, so you cannot see inside. But there is another door leading into the house on the side.
Yeah, I mean, we got a role play, and we don't know what's going on inside. So I look towards Joe, and I nod towards the door, and I kind of shrug.
Are you kicking it, or are you trying to open it gently?
Let's try the knob before we try to break in. Try to turn the knob.
The knob. Do a wiliness roll real quick.
Okay. That'll be a D8 plus 1. That is an 8 plus 1, a 9.
You turn it very, very quietly, and you open the door into what looks like, for this manor, a kind of more modestly sized kitchen. And there is a man standing in the kitchen with his back to you, who looks quite tense, and they're blonde and they're wearing a fluffy coat, and they have a rifle in their hands that they're holding quite tightly, and are sort of staring out into the hallway whilst keeping their back sort of against the wall, looking out into it.
So
I painted a bad... Yeah, let me...
Are we behind him?
You have opened the door into this kitchen. He has not noticed you. His back is sort of against a wall with another door that he's sort of peeking through into the hallway.
So his
So
back
he's in
is
front
not
of us,
to
and
us.
he's facing us, but his
is.
face is actually turned
Yeah.
towards a door.
Yes.
Okay.
His body is facing towards you, but his eyes
Gotcha.
are trained on the hallway.
Cool. I'm gonna shoot a dart at him.
Cool.
Nice. Wait. Did
I'm
you
also
have
just-
time to prepare another dart, though?
Yeah, on the way here.
All right. Do you know which one it is?
Well, let's see. Oh shoot, I forgot to pull my email. It's a 2. I believe 2 was dizzy, right? I mean,
Yeah, if you say so. All right. So you're going to shoot a dart at him.
I'm just slipping on my brass knuckles for later, too, just in case.
That is,
yeah, it's
I
a
mean,
dizzy dart.
you've caught him by surprise.
So will this be a will this be a blowgun roll?
Yeah, this will be a blowgun roll, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it's an ambush. So he's gonna roll a d6 for initiative if it comes to that.
Okay, that'll be 4 plus 6, so 10.
Okay, hang on. Don't mind me. I'm just writing some things down. It doesn't matter how many.
Doesn't matter. Don't worry about it.
So yeah, he's gonna have to make a toughness, a resilience roll, right?
Mhm.
So that's a d8. Ooh, and okay, and he's gonna have to subtract your blowgun experience, right? What does dizzy do?
So the dizzy is, I think it just causes them to. Hold on, let me find it real quick. I think it's in the index.
Yeah. Oh, hang on. Oh, I mentioned this. This is mentioned a whole lot in this book.
A dizzy cowpoke has all movement halved. All accuracy modifiers capped at +1 and has a 50% chance to topple themselves upon sprinting.
Wow, that's really good. Wish I'd thought about that more.
It's really what?
That's really good, and I wish I had thought about it more before.
Yeah, it must be interesting as the game master who created the system.
Yeah.
There's a role to be like,
Yeah,
I have no one to blame but me for that one.
That is like 3 very good things it does. I don't know what I was fucking thinking there, but all right, I have no one to blame but myself. So, yeah, so that has happened. Reginald and Floyd, and I'm gonna say Desmond is with you and Naymond is with the others. What are you guys doing as you see Nat sort of standing there looking up at the stairs?
I mean, does she doesn't. I think honestly, Floyd is is like starting just to make his way to the stairs to start heading towards the mayor. Like, I mean, the doing it the hard way is he thinks, well, I guess we are gonna have to fight our way through. So he's
Nat. As you get closer, you realize Nat was speaking, and she says as you get closer, "Oh God damn it!" And she raises her rifle towards the ceiling, and she looks at the stairs, and she says, "It doesn't have to go hard. It can go easy, okay? and you hear a couple of creaky steps coming down the stairs. And Floyd, make a frontier roll.
Yeah. That is a nat 8 plus 1, so 9.
You are walking quickly towards her. Out the corner of your eye, you walk past the living room, and you see two armed, surprised-looking people in there. But you walk quickly enough so that they see you, look a bit surprised, but don't have time to sort of get up and run towards you. But you know Nat is looking at someone, and there are two people that you've just passed in another room. And then there's Reginald and Desmond, who have not made it there.
I think he goes, oh shit, and he pushes himself like up against a wall away from the door and trains his gun at the door as well, so that whenever they walk out, he can fire at them.
The steps go quickly now, and the steps go quickly now, and hang on. So, Deacon, looking towards the stairs, and Reginald, you see this too. A man with a tired face and slumped shoulders stands before you motionless, 1 foot at the bottom of the stairs, one above. He appears to slow down the air around him as he slowly turns his head, shadow covering his eyes, and he sighs. Everyone roll an initiative. So...
Ooh! That's 10.
And... you know, Deacon, you've had a lot to drink. I'm going to say you're inebriated if you want to be, so
I'm cool with it.
let's see.
So I saw him come down the stairs from the kitchen?
No, you are only aware of the guy in the kitchen that's just been hit with a dizzy dart.
That's what I thought.
You and Josephus and Namond. So, let me roll for these guys.
Let me know when you're ready for the initiatives.
Ooh, a 1. That's no good. And as you lock eyes with this man who has come down the stairs, roll a d10.
That's a 6.
A 6. Okay. I'm going to tell you one of his abilities.
Oh.
It's called First Blood. He acts first in initiative order every round. Until he kills someone. And he cannot be made to drop an initiative order.
Ah, lovely.
Wow.
Hate that, but good to know. Oh, no.
So this guy is going to be acting first, no matter what. How tall is Floyd?
You know, he's not short, but he's not particularly tall. We'll say he's like 5'9".
Oh man, I said in my head, 5'10" is the cutoff point for this to happen. So, the man, as he gets down the stairs, he locks eyes with you, Floyd, and you notice this dude is tall. Maybe the tallest man you've ever seen. He is, by your estimate, maybe 6'4" or even 6'5", pushing it. He is not a particularly muscular man, but there is something about the way he moves with certainty and with mechanically that is very unsettling. And he begins bounding towards you. And he has in his hand what you think is a lasso, but it's very thick for a lasso. And what he does is make a toughness roll.
Yeah. So that is a 4 plus 2, so a 6.
Okay? He sort of puts a hand on your shoulder and pushes you down a bit, and you feel your knees buckle. The lasso, he slumps around your neck, and then he does something truly horrifying.
Uh-huh.
He turns around and he stands up at full height, and you are lifted off the ground.
Oh no!
And you are essentially being strangled on this giant man's back as he holds you with one arm and an axe in the other. And at this point, he has spied you, Reginald, thinking he was done, he spends the rest of his turn walking towards you as Floyd sort of kicks and grabs at his neck on the back of this giant man.
Oh no.
So Floyd, you've taken 2 damage. So not a lot of damage right now.
But I am restrained and, currently being strangled. So, that's not looking too great.
Yep. You. I will tell you this though. Both you and the man count as restrained right now. So he has his movement quite severely limited.
Okay.
So next up is Deacon.
I mean, I'm just in the kitchen. This guy's dizzy darted, which means what exactly?
All of his modifiers are capped at +1. If he moves, he has a chance to just fall over, and he has his movement capped as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just try to pop him with my brass knuckles, just to make sure he's down and out.
So you bolt towards him?
Yep.
And
probably.
try to pop him one?
Yeah.
All right.
Like the dart lands and then I kind of, run in.
He's pretty surprised. Yeah. God, he's surprised, right? Does that mean that you automatically hit a crack shot?
Well, I just rolled an 8, so.
Yeah. I mean, you hit one anyway.
Yep.
8 plus what? Hard hand is 2, 10. Yeah. And then is it a D?
And then a D4, and then you do a topple contest and add your hard hand.
Yep.
And add your brass knuckles.
Oh, fun. A 4.
Okay,
Nice.
so that's 6 damage, right?
A 4. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. So that's... And
Top
then...
contest.
So, to topple... I'm pretty sure what you do is the result of your hard hand roll was a 10, right?
Yes.
So what's your brass knuckles experience?
3.
3, and what's your toughness modifier?
My toughness modifier is +2.
So that means 15. So that means that's 10 plus 3 plus 2. That is more than his toughness modifier, so he goes down and he hits the ground.
Fun.
So
Yay!
he got popped with a dart, and then he got popped by you with a brass knuckle running up to him. Oh fuck, he can't move at all, because he's had his movement reduced by the dart, and he's been toppled now, which also reduces your movement by half. So he is grounded.
Is movement reduced by half of total or half of half?
Total. Yeah. So he can't even crawl away now. He has his rifle. But he can't crawl away. Alright, so a pretty beefy hit. Oh, by the way, everyone has a point of vigor.
Yes.
Just to remind everybody.
Yes.
So, let's see. Someone got a 7. Aha, it was her. So, sprinting out of the room that you passed, Floyd, is a short woman with brown hair tied up into a bun, with a long scar going down her face. And she sees you, Reginald, and she goes, "Ah, shit!" And she dashes towards you, and she has what looks like a foot-long dagger that curves at the end in her hand, and she is gonna swing that at you. Okay, so it's a 5, so it does hit. Let me see. So let me just see the curved knife. I think that only activates on a crack shot. So d6 damage, and yeah, on a crack shot. So you're only going to be hurt by a dagger. Okay. So you are slashed at with a dagger, and you just take 2 damage. It's fine.
Nice.
Fine.
Reginald. Although I will remind you, none of you have had a chance to heal since last time. So, Reginald, at this point, you are not doing great. You can you can stay on your toes. You can dance for a while longer, but you're not great. So 7.
Good
so
to know.
Honestly, it's
Next
just
we-
nice to be out of the cold.
Yep. Next we have Josephus.
Sorry, did you say Josephus? You kind of cut out a little
Yep,
bit.
Josephus.
Okay, awesome. Well, since this guy can't move, I'm going to run forward and just kind of take the rifle out of his hands.
Oh, damn. That's a great idea. Yeah, that's a great idea. Really, really good idea. I'm gonna. He's fucking toppled, isn't he? Because I was gonna say
Yeah.
he can do that, but you're gonna have to make a toughness roll against him. But when you're toppled, you do all your toughness and wiliness rolls with a d6. So you've like really. This is. I wish this were intentional. Because you've really thoroughly gotten this guy.
Yeah, I mean, this is just Josephus and Deacon actually working well together without anyone else around.
This is like, yeah.
I am gonna make
This
you
is our
do.
shtick.
I am gonna make you do the toughness roll to yank it out his hands, but he
Sure.
he is doing it with a d6 because you toppled him.
Well, and now my toughness is not -1 anymore. It's just 0 because I added 1 to my
brilliant.
toughness. That'll be a 5.
Well, motherfucker got a 2, so yeah, you pull it out of his hands and you notice this is not just a rifle. This is a repeating rifle.
Oh.
So, pretty good that you got this away from this guy.
Sure, of course. So, in terms of movement economy, would I be able to just kind of hit him with the butt of it, or?
I am going to say your main action was yanking it from his hands.
Yeah,
Anything
that's
that
what I
requires a facet roll is a main action, unless stated otherwise.
I'm gonna look at Deacon and say, "Do you want this, or?"
Sure.
Okay, I hand it to Deacon.
Yeah.
you can probably do better with it than I can.
All right, next up we have. Wait, Reginald, you got a 3, didn't you?
I did.
You haven't had a turn yet, right?
Correct.
And let's see, what did Floyd get? Oh, Floyd was meant to have a turn before that.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay, Floyd, make a toughness roll.
Yes. So that is a 3 plus my toughness, which is a 2, so a 5.
You got a way to go. So what is happening is every turn he is strangling you, he has what is called a struggle score. So it started at 10, now it is 9. So every turn his struggle score goes down. You have to essentially beat his struggle score at the beginning of a turn to get out.
But
a
of it.
5 ain't gonna do it.
No,
So
it's not.
you're gonna take... Now, you can't take much damage from this. However, no spoilers. You don't want this to happen. I think
much
you can
longer.
put together... You don't want this to happen too long.
Understandably, I mean, I am choking on, a rope. A question: would Hector be involved in this combat? So will he?
Hector
act
takes his turn off. He takes his turn after you.
after mine. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So what can I do?
So you've used your main action to struggle. You can use a quick action to try and say something or try and get something out of your pocket, try to throw something, try to grab something around the room that you can see.
Oh, I think what I'll do. Then, I haven't used this yet, but I do have a branding iron tied to my belt, so that. So I think I'm going to kind of loosen it from my belt so that if I can get away, I can try to smack this guy and get him to drop me.
All right, it falls to the ground
Beautiful.
and sort of clangs. What does Hector do?
I think Hector, because you said that he was perched up at the top, eating his mouse, right? So
Yeah.
I think that means he'll use his perch pounce. So he'll jump down, and I think seeing me, being strangled by this dude, he's gonna try to perch pounce and claw this guy in the face.
All right, tell me what Perch Pounce does.
Yeah, perch pounce is 1d6 plus 2 accuracy. It can only be used when perched on a branch or something 6 to 10 feet off the ground. This attack then leaves the Screech Owl on the ground, so he'll kind of dive bomb down to try to hit the guy.
And does it get a bonus or anything? I think something gives it a bonus, right?
That would be he has Nocturnal Hunter, which would be the
Oh,
claw
so it
swipe.
just
It's at night, but since it's I am assuming it is not nighttime.
It's daytime.
So.
All right, I will roll. Do you want to roll for Hector?
Sure.
Or should I?
I can roll for Hector. Yeah, so we'll
right.
roll that. So that is a 5 plus 2 accuracy. So it's a 7 to
Okay.
hit.
So that's a D6 plus 1, right?
Yes.
Go hold him.
He rolled a 6, so it'll be 7 damage.
Oh my god! Damn!
Little Hector's
Heck
coming
yeah.
out of nowhere to
Let's
fuck
go,
this guy
Hector.
up.
All right, your little owl is doing a lot of work. He is this. Don't worry though, guys. Hector is not OP. He is now on the ground, and he can only really do this when he's perched. So he took 6 damage, right?
Yeah, 7 because I rolled 6 plus 1, so 7 damage.
Oh damn! Oh my god! So I'm going to characterize that as the last thing he expected was a small owl to swoop down and with his beak sort of gouge him directly on the top of the head.
That would also be the last thing I would be expecting. So.
All right, so that's Hector, and now Reginald.
Alright, so my original plan was that I wanted to do something to help Floyd, but since then I have been engaged by this person with a dagger who stabbed me with it, so I think I'm going to have to deal with them before I can help Floyd, so sorry, Floyd.
It's fine. It's fine.
I'm just gonna take a swing at him with my sword.
Okay.
So that's gonna be a 6 to hit.
Okay. So that's just going to be a D6.
Okay. That's gonna be 5 damage.
All right. Hang on, let me look up how much health she had. Okay. Cool. And let's see. We have next up is God. It was Desmond with Reginald and
Yes.
Okay, Desmond is going to run up and he grabs a vase from a nearby table and smashes it on this woman's head. Or he is going to attempt to. Let's see.
Yeah, he's got to do
Oh, that is unfortunately a miss. So he just throws the vase at the back of her head, and it sails over her shoulder. But as he does that, she does turn around and look at him very quizzically. And next, from that room, a broad-shouldered man runs out of the room into the hallway, looks around, trying to kind of assess the situation. He sees that his friend has been sort of dropped to the ground in the doorway leading into the kitchen, and spies you there, Deacon. And he sort of shakily, he lifts up a shaky hand and fires at you with a pistol.
So he's running into the kitchen.
He's in the hallway, sort of nearby the big guy, but he's clocked you, whereas the big guy hasn't, and he's firing into the kitchen at you. However, he fires at you, and you feel a pair of hands on your shoulders as Naymond spins you around and takes the bullet for you.
Oh.
Naymond has an ability called Safety Shove, where he can use his main action at any point in a turn to intercept a blow, as long as, intercept meaning he can add his wiliness, and if subtracting his wiliness from the accuracy roll would cause a miss, then it hits him instead. So,
I didn't even know
Naymond-
he was here.
Naymond
Thanks,
was with
Naymond.
you guys.
Yeah.
Naymond spins you around because you've been through a bad situation. I think Naymond clocked this quickly, so Naymond is going to take. Okay, Naymond's going to take 6 damage,
Oh no.
and Naymond lets out a pretty loud yowl.
Thanks.
So say.
Well, Deacon's got another person to hang around now.
Womp womp. So I
Ooh,
believe
good point.
I believe we are at the top of turn order now. So, wait, actually, we have Nat, who I will say is
I
going
would
last.
I would
And
like to tally
Yeah.
up a blood debt for Naaman right now.
yeah, you have a blood debt with Naaman.
Okay.
Put it on the tab.
So Nat, for her turn, she sort of gets to the side of this big guy, and she says, "Henry, it doesn't have to go this way." And she says, "Everyone, we can just stop now. It's a failure. We fucked up. It's not working." And she's going to make a hard talk roll, and it's not enough. All right. So, going to the top of the order, we have the big guy, whose name is Henry. And seeing you now, Reginald, here, he is going to lumber forward at you. And with his other hand, he raises an axe, and he swings it down at you.
Yikes.
This guy's a monster.
And he does miss.
Thank God.
I'm going to characterize that as he is dragging Floyd's like twitching, convulsing self behind him. So he just swings and misses, and thematically just walks right by Nat, ignoring everything she says, as well. So next, I believe, is Deacon.
Okay. I'll just swing around then. I don't know. Like, our goal here is to rob. Again, Deacon's a big guy, but he doesn't love to murder. But I guess he will if it's to, his life is directly in.
Sing your heart's true
Danger.
song.
So I will spin around with this brand new repeating rifle and just try
You
to
do
pop
not have
one.
You do not have any experience in that, so I'm just gonna use it like a regular rifle.
Okay.
I'll let you use it like a regular rifle.
I mean, I also just have a regular rifle, so there's really no point then.
But your other rifle's on your back.
Yep, that is true.
That one's in your hand.
Okay, whatever.
What's your?
Is it really an action to get a weapon from on your body to in your hands?
It is a main action to get a weapon from off your back that is holstered into both of
Gotcha.
your hands. What's your brass knuckles experience?
3.
3. Roll a d8 and subtract 3.
It's a 6 minus 3 at 3.
Okay. The brass knuckles, the drawback is they sort of inhibit your dexterity. So if you want to try and do anything dexterous, you have to do a roll like that. And
Okay.
if you get low enough, you can do it. But if not, then you sort of fumble with them on because they're big clunky. But you can fire the rifle at whoever you want.
Yeah. I'll just seems like my only option then. I'll just shoot at the guy who shot Naaman.
The guy with the pistol,
Yep.
mutton chops.
That's a steady hand, which is 0, so it's a 5. So it's just a regular.
All right, then roll a d8.
Also a 5.
Okay, the first rifle shot of the game. Okie dokie. So next up is 7. Janine. So she's going to swing at you again, Reggie, with her curved knife.
Freak.
You have the devil's own luck because she has missed as well.
Yeah.
You are dodging edged weapons left, right, and center like you're Jackie Chan.
Nice.
All right. Next up is Floyd. Toughness roll. You're aiming to beat a 8.
That's aiming to beat an 8. Okay. Come on now. It's a 5. Oh, I rolled a 7. Dang it.
Okay. Oh, okay. You are doing really bad. You are doing really, really bad, Floyd. You don't like being here. It's not great. Hector is on the ground. Is there anything Hector can do on the ground?
Well, he has. Well, if he can use some of his movement to start flying again, then he does have his claw swipe, which is just like a regular D4 attack.
Yeah. Taking off is an action though, so he can. I'll say that he can begin like flying around again.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. So then yeah, he'll start to fly around then, just so he's not lying on the ground.
All right, Josephus.
So the thing is, I'm not really good with my weapons. So like, I don't. The blowgun was the best I could do. Yeah, I guess I'll just take out my revolver and from my hip and shoot at the guy that Dean just shot at.
All right. Give me a roll.
Ooh, that's a 1.
Now you have a point of vigor if you want to.
Yeah, I am going to use a point of vigor. Well, it doesn't re-roll, doesn't it? Just add 2, but it doesn't.
No, for a nat 1, you can re-roll it with a point of vigor.
Okay, cool. Well, then I'll re-roll that. I'll get a 4 plus 1 of 5.
Okay, then roll damage.
Awesome, good deal. It'll be 2.
Okay.
And then I'll just try to like hide on the other side of the door so he doesn't have it shut on me.
So that guy has actually gone down. Josephus, you have claimed a life.
You know,
as the
this
guy
might not be the first
spins
life
backwards.
that Josephus has killed, but it's probably the first person Josephus has killed with a bullet.
Yeah. Damn, that I statted this guy as not having much HP, but having a really like nasty weapon. Because he had a big club in his other hand, and he had like maxed it out. But whatever. So that was
Best laid plans.
Joey Feathers.
His name was Joey Feathers.
No, that's
Oh, that's me.
That's you. You're Joey Feathers.
Yeah, I was thinking like that's so close to Josephus Feathers.
Reginald.
Well, now that both the big guy and the girl are attacking me, I'm gonna try and stab the big guy in hopes that will at least slow down him killing Floyd.
Now, Reginald, you remember what I said about this dude and his choking? He counts as incapacitated.
Cut his head off. He's also hurt really bad already because of my owl.
All right.
I'll say this: you can go for his head. You can go for his any of his limbs. You can go for his arm that's holding Floyd up.
I would like to go for his head. That
All right.
is, I want it clean off.
All right.
I rolled a nat 1, so I'm going to use my point of vigor to reroll.
Yep.
And hope it goes better. I rolled an 8 this time, which is a lot better.
That is so good. That is so fantastic. So let me scroll down to remind myself exactly how this works. So sword off against a toppled or otherwise restrained opponent.
This man brought a sword to a gunfight and won.
What would your total damage of that attack be?
So what do I get for a 8? What's that I add to it?
That's plus
Is that
2.
Plus 2.
So your damage is so roll a d6 for damage.
I rolled a 6, so it's 6 plus 2, 8.
Okay. And what is your sword experience?
I also have plus 2 for sword experience.
So the way this works is, so that's 10. They need to do a toughness roll above 10, or else you've gone and done it.
Okay.
And they don't.
Yeah,
So
they
you-
have to have a pretty thick deck in order for that not to...
Yeah. So, Reginald, seeing Floyd being strangled to death slowly, you feel a sense of responsibility for this kid, and summoning all of your strength, I think using both hands, not a swipe at this guy's neck, you shove the blade dead into the center of his throat, and you keep screaming and keep going until there is a nasty thud on the floor, and the man's body drops to the ground. And Floyd, you're no longer being suffocated. And Reginald, your pants are soaked in blood at this point.
That seems right.
As he sort of spins to the ground.
I'm just standing over Floyd, holding my sword-covered blood with blood all over me.
Like panting. So goddamn. Yep.
That's all. I just say his name and kind of nod to him.
I nod back.
Desmond, I'm gonna say Desmond is pretty horrified by what he saw, but he is summoning his strength. He pulls a painting off the wall and tries to jam it over the woman who is still in front of him.
I hope this works.
In
Heck yeah.
cartoon stuff, he does it.
Trap her in the frame.
Yes!
He does it, and she takes 3 whole damage. He gets a
There you
good
go.
roll.
Yeah. You're good, Des.
What did
He
she have?
chucked a vase at her and missed, so he was like, I'll go for the painting. That's a sure thing.
Yeah. So
Yeah, her head like crashes into the painting, and then her teeth fall out and make piano noises when they hit the ground.
yeah, exactly. Naaman uses. Okay, so Naaman sort of runs into the hallway and fumbles with a pistol and shoots towards the woman now trapped in a painting, but misses. And then Nat, on her turn, looks at the body of Henry, then looks at you, Reginald, and says, Jesus Christ, and sighs and raises her rifle at the woman who is in the painting now. And she's going to make a hard talk roll, and she says, this isn't going your way. Just stop now, please. And the woman in the painting drops her knife, and she says, I'm just going to run out of here. Okay?
Sounds good.
Nat nods, and she awkwardly waddles out with the painting over her. And the guy on the ground in the kitchen has his hands sort of like spread and up, and he says like, can I get out of here too?
The guy in the kitchen that I made dizzy initially.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
alive. He's like,
Yeah. I look at him and I go, go.
He shuffles very slowly backwards along the ground, sort of wiggling. Like
That'll
in the
wear off
direction
in
of
about
that
4
door.
hours.
All right.
Don't try to ride a horse until then.
Nat is looking down at Henry's body, and her eyes are wide, and she looks at all of you, and she says, "The owl saw a fucking rat."
Ah. Well, how is it going until that point?
She said, "The thing that hurts is I think I could have talked him around." But she sighs and says, "But it doesn't matter now." And she points towards the 2 large doors in the back and says, "He's through there, Floyd."
I think
And she helps you to your feet.
Floyd's like rubbing his neck and is like, even if we could have talked him into something, he didn't seem like he was gonna be someone who would followed along for very long.
She shakes her head.
I just walk in and take a big old bite out of an apple I've grabbed from the kitchen and look for anything shiny to throw into a bag.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna also start just looking for shiny things.
Yeah, you can go talk
You
to
guys,
Claire.
you guys find some pretty nice silverware.
Oh,
I'm gonna say you can kill for that.
I look down at the broken vase on the ground. I look at Desmond and shake my head because it was probably valuable.
Oh yes. Well, was it on a side table or was it like in the living room? If it was like in the living room where it has a higher chance of being knocked over, it probably wouldn't have been as expensive. But if it was like on a side table against a wall,
You guys are having this conversation in character as
of course.
Floyd, and I think Nat's gonna come with you. Nat has Henry's blood on her as well. Reginald, what are you doing?
I think I follow after Floyd and Nat. I kind of tuck my sword back into my belt and still just covered in blood. I just follow them.
You open the doors, and before you is Mayor Duhart, a number of papers strewn across his desk. Things sort of in general disarray, and he looks up and he says, Floyd, okay, yes. What happened out there?
Floyd points his revolver at him. He's like, "You're gonna have to explain to me exactly what happened on that train, why you set us up, or I am going to blow your brains out right here, right now."
Damn, make a hard talk roll.
That's an 8 plus whatever my hard talking is, which I can't remember off the top of my head. Is a +1, so 9.
Yep, and you guys are covered in... Well, 2 of you are covered in blood too. So, he says, "Oh my god, did they kill Henry?" And Nat slowly nods and motions towards Reginald and says, "He did." And then he looks at you, Reginald, and says, "My god." And he looks at you, Floyd, and he says, "Floyd, things got out of hand." And he sighs and says, "Are you in the mood for a drink, or do you just want me to talk?"
I cock the pistol, still just pointing it at him.
He says, okay. And he looks down and he says, "So, the mine dried up. I transitioned the town into lumber. But the lumber didn't do too much, especially in the winter when no one wanted to work it. Then, he looks at you, Reggie, and he says, "You remember when the gambling hall opened? That was my money that built that gambling hall. You remember how many tourists it brought in here?" And he scowls and he says, "Nearly none." And he sighs and he said, "So, I had another idea. I took out a loan to pay for paintings, antiques, and the construction of the museum. I was going to rebrand the town Tornbright Hills, have a grand opening. And then I found out that the paintings," and he scowls and looks at the ground, "were all fake." And he looks up and says, "Now, maybe I could have bought myself some time. But I got ahead of myself. I invited journalists here for the grand opening in a few days. From the Montana Tribune, but they weren't just sending journalists, they were sending an appraiser." And he looks down and he says, "They would have known those paintings were fake the moment they walked into the museum." And he says, "I spent money on the lumber mill. When that didn't work, I spent more money on the gambling hall, and when that didn't work, I spent more money on the museum, and I just kept getting deeper and deeper and deeper. But I did have one plan. I managed to get those paintings insured. If I could get them stolen or destroyed, I could recoup some of my losses and invest it into the town somehow, some other way. Maybe turn the museum into just being about the Civil War, maybe some other industry. I don't know. But if the plan had worked, I would have had a little more time."
Could I hear this from the other room?
Make a frontier roll.
Because I have an idea of what I'm going to do after this if you guys don't hear it.
That's a 6.
I'm gonna say you get the gist of it.
I'm gonna walk just to the doorway and look at him, and I'll just say,
You made some bad investments, and truly the only... You had us track down these brothers. But truly, the only malicious force towards this town was you and your pride. And the snow. But there's nothing we can do about that.
The mayor says...
And then I turn around and just I just walk away.
You turn around and just grab a candlestick off of a
Yeah,
shelf.
off of a table and walk away, yeah.
Mayor Duhart has a moment where he looks at Nat and he says, "I am not being lectured on morality by Josephus Featherswallow, am I?" And then he looks at you, Floyd, and he says, "I promise it wasn't pride. I promise it was just wanting to get the town back to where it was a decade ago."
I think Floyd kind of lowers his gun a little bit, looks at Nat, looks back at the mayor, and is like, "Well, as a citizen of this fine town, I hereby am telling you, you're no longer mayor." I lift up my pistol and I fire it at him.
Oh, shit. Oh, I didn't quick draw.
Yep,
Okay.
I tried to have an inciting phrase and everything, so I could do it.
Yep. Roll damage.
Roll damage?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was a 6 for the revolver.
Plus your fast hand.
Plus my fast hand is +2, so that's 8 damage.
All right. I don't think he has that much HP, but all right. I'm gonna say he is not actually dead, but he did not expect to be shot. Mayor Duhart was a man who did not think he would be shot in his life. So he is shot and he slumps back towards the back of his desk, towards the back of his office, and falls back onto the ground. and is sort of hunched over. And Nat looks at you, and she puts her hand up on your hand, holding the revolver, and she says, "Floyd." And she looks at you and locks eyes with you a moment, and she says, "Please, this isn't you."
I think Floyd does at that point just holster his pistol, looks at Nat, and is like, make sure this town actually goes back to being right, and not with him.
And Mayor Duhart sort of gags, and he looks at you, Reggie, and then at Nat, and he says, "Nat, help me, please." And Nat looks over at him, and do people want to stay in the room with the mayor, or do?
Nope. Floyd immediately after he says that to Nat, he turns around and walks back out into the main hall, trying to find Josephus and them, because he has a proposition for them.
Well, he says, sorry, I wanted to say, like, he says to you after Reggie leaves, after Floyd leaves, he looks at you, Reggie, and then he looks at Nat, and then he looks back at you, and he says, will you help me, Reginald, please? I don't want to bleed to death in my office.
I turn to Nat. You ready to go?
And she looks down and says, "I think so." And as you turn around, he says, "Wait, Martingale!" And she turns around, and he says, "I'll flip a coin, okay? I'll flip a coin, double or nothing. Heads, I give you the money in my safe, you bandage me up." And he thinks a moment, and he says, "How about this? I've already been shot. You, Reginald, you can run out of here. I'll take a pot shot at you. Everyone in town can see, and maybe we can spin it this way. Mayor robbed, great shootout, catastrophe on train. That should bring the tourists in, right? You can call you the Butcher of Big Fork, Reggie." And he sort of smiles and says, I'm not saying you'd ever be caught or we'd say it was you or anything. I'm just trying to spin this in the best way I can.
I walk back over to him, and I walk past him and go to the safe. Yeah, give me the safe code.
And he scowls and says, "Bandage me up first, please."
I don't see that you have a lot of bargaining power in this situation.
He says, "Okay, 4419.
I put that in the safe.
There is a good amount of money in there, not as much as it seems that he was not lying about his financial situation. There is about $98 in there."
I pick up the money and I walk out.
He says, "Wait, please, at least let me flip the coin."
So I grab the money and I just keep walking, and as I go through the door, I just, "Sorry, Mayor, but I'm no fool."
Nice. And Nat sighs, and she is somewhat torn on what to do, and she says, "I don't think you can be the mayor anymore." And Duhart looks at her and says, "What's that supposed to mean, Nat?" And she says, "This whole catastrophe, people died because of you." And Nat walks out into the hallway, quietly defeated. The mayor's... I think it's safe to say that Deacon and Josephus have pretty thoroughly ransacked the mayor's place at this point.
We're just like dragging a big potato sack we emptied out.
And then as we're putting it in the wagon, I say, "Good thing I made room. They're throwing out all those tonics, huh?"
The Nesmond brothers are helping you out as well.
Oh well, thank you, brothers, thank you.
As you are sort of heading out, Floyd, Desmond says, Naaman says, "One for the road, Davis Floyd," and he hands you a painting, and it's a sort of crummy small painting of a little house in a sort of in a grassy field, a stone house in a grassy field.
I guess I kind of... It's Floyd Davis. That's my actual name. I lied to you earlier.
And Naaman raises his eyebrows and says, "That's a terrible fake name."
I think Floyd goes up to Josephus and Deacon and is like, "Well, I don't got much reason to stay around here anymore. I got a sister in
I don't
Illinois.
think anyone does.
I got a sister in Illinois who will, at least set me up with her. If you're looking for at least a direction to be moving in, I'm sure there's plenty of people over there you can con and steal from if you're at least looking for another companion for a little bit of a road trip.
Floyd, I don't know if you want to be a part of this life. You're a good young man, and quite frankly, I turn around, we don't really have room in the wagon.
Well, I thought I'd at least give you the offer before I head out myself.
I'll tell you what, though, we do have a couple extra horses it looks like we wound up with, so maybe if we send a couple with you, it won't be so sad parting.
Floyd kind of just nods and tips his hat to you. That'd be much appreciated, sir.
Of course.
I hand you like 3 silver forks and just nod.
Thank you.
As you're leaving, there are a few people who are sort of peeking at the mayoral manor, and are sort of peeking out. And Nat approaches you, Reginald, and she says, "Reginald, what are you planning on doing from here?"
Well, I kind of thought that I would probably either end up in jail or killed before this whole encounter was over. And seeing as I have made it out, neither of those things, and about $90-something richer, I call this a complete win.
Nat pauses a minute, and she says, I don't think I want to stay around here longer either. And she looks at you, and a light sort of goes off in her eyes, and she smiles very slowly and says, "I think Red Oak is looking for a new sheriff, though."
Yeah, where's Wayne?
He's tied up in the wagon, and she says, "I think he's going to have a lot of explaining to do." And as you're sort of walking down, Wayne... No, you know what? Fuck it. I wanted to do this. Wayne has gotten himself untied, and he runs up to, as you're all leaving, he runs up to you, Josephus and Deacon, and he's sort of red in the face with anger, and he says, "By gum, I'm gonna make sure you two go to jail for the rest of your life." And he's only really focusing on you guys as everyone else sort of splits off and goes their separate ways. And he has a weapon. No, you probably would have taken it off him, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
He says, "I may not be the acting sheriff in this town." And he sort of steps forward towards you, Josephus. He says, "But I know a con man when I see one. And I've gone through more in the last 24 hours than I've ever been through in my life. So I will make it my personal mission to make sure that you are dragged into a cell, kicking and screaming if it's the last thing I do." And then, Josephus, you hear a voice say, "I don't think you can." And you turn, and you see a man with black slicked hair, and you recognize him as Doug, the man you, quote, held up on the road with Deacon earlier. And he says, "That's, fuck the name, I wrote it down, Tacitus." He says, "That's Tacitus Lieberman." And Doug is holding a book that says Germanic-American Relations 1850 to 1880. And he says, "I've met him on the road. He's a visiting dignitary, ain't ya?"
I most certainly am. A visiting dignitary from Germany.
Do a fast talk roll.
Cool. I have +1 to fast talk, so...
Yeah.
That's a 7 + 1. That's an 8.
And he looks at the guy, and then he looks at you, and he says, "What? No, he's not." And Doug says, "Yes, he is, and I believe he has diplomatic immunity."
Ain't that right?
Of course I do. And Doug. Doug, is it?
He nods and says, "Yes, sir."
I grab 2 silver candlesticks out from the bag at the back, and I walk over to him and I say, "A gift from mine people for helping us on the road."
He says, "These can't be the 1849, these can't be the 1849, what did you say they were, candlesticks? The 1849 Doberman candlesticks, can they?"
It's the very same.
And a tear comes to his eye.
Now, if you, I turn to the sheriff, or quote unquote sheriff. Now, if you will excuse me, we really must be going now.
Okay. And Wayne turns around and looks at the people of the town, and he says, "All right, people, I know there was some noise, but I promise you, Big Fork is in good hands from this point on. I'm the new sheriff in town." And he starts backing up towards the mayor's manor, and he says, "From now on, things are going to be a lot more stable, a lot more calm, and you can expect a return to normalcy." And he turns around and looks inside the manor and screams, "What the hell?"
As soon as he says that, I'm like reining the horses, and they're starting to go. We're just leaped out.
Have the
One by
Nesmond
one.
brothers left?
The Nesmond brothers have nodded to you two and are getting on their own horses. And Naymond says to you, in particular, Deacon, "You better watch out. Don't want to run into the Nesmond brothers on the road."
Yeah, I look at him and I go, "What are you doing?" And I look towards the mansion and I go, "Put your calling card in there."
And he says, and he blushes a bit and he says, "It was more of a song, Deacon, not an actual card." And Desmond says to you as Naymond rides off, he says to you briefly, "Josephus, I think you are the toughest son of a bitch I ever met." And he nods and he says, "And you taught us to do things a bit gentler." Which, lessons learned.
Doing things a bit gentler, it helps with the bullet wounds.
And then he looks back and he
At
says,
the both of us with the most bullet wounds.
he looks back and he says, "I'm just figuring out that's your wagon." And he looks a bit embarrassed and says, "Well, goodbye." And he rides off.
Safe travels. All right.
Now, a few months pass. Reginald, are you happy with the Red Oak thing that Nat suggested, or do you want to suggest where your character is, having spent his money?
I think that is what he decided to do. I think Reggie is just he's never going to just settle down and do something long term. Once Nat suggested that to him, I think he fell into it. He's been doing it for a while. There will probably come a day where he gets disinterested in that and moves on, but for now it's keeping him occupied.
So, Reginald, you are walking through Red Oak. The winter has begun to pass. It is not warm, but skies have gone from a cruel and intimidating bright white to a more steely grey that comes with gentle rains and clouds and maybe a bit of a bitter chill, but something that can be survived. You are walking along the streets and you see a man who you recognize as a vagrant in the town. He's been hanging around a few places, he's been told off a few places, and he's currently sitting outside a bar.
I think I walk up to him.
He looks up at you. He's an older man than you, and he has wild grey hair and a quite dirty coat. He looks up at you and says, I'm going.
Yeah, just come along. We'll do this the easy way. And I just kind of start walking alongside of him.
And he sighs and says, you ain't had things as hard as me, buddy.
Is that right?
He says, uh-huh. And after a while he says, if you'll play a round of cards with me, I'll tell you.
I stop. I think I kind of look around. And I turn to him. I think I'm inclined to take you up on that.
He smiles, and the two of you walk off together in the direction of the sheriff's department, but at a more leisurely pace than you previously were. Deacon and Josephus, you two are in a bar in some 2-bit town that is exactly the same as every other bar in every other 2-bit town you've visited. The silverware well and truly gone at this point. Pawned off and occupying some old lady's house in central Montana. You are in the midst of discussing some plan that you have, Josephus.
My German accent ain't good enough for that.
Okay. Well, what about Spanish? Do you have a Spanish accent?
Hola, mi amigo.
Okay, that's pretty
at this
good.
point, a older, as you are sitting down, as you are sitting down, an older woman with greying hair and a very warm face approaches you, and she says, "Oh, hello. Excuse me. I would like to speak with you."
Hola.
Oh, hola. No habla español.
How can we
Parlez-vous
help you?
français? She says, my name is Marie. I am a praiser. She says, she looks at you and says, you are Josephus? Or
Who is asking?
Tacitus? Joephesers?
Tacitus, yes.
She nods and says, the Montana Tribune. It spoke about something that happened. And she unfolds a painting that she has. And it is one of the paintings from the train. And she says, how did you know this was fake?
Oh, well, you can see clearly that the brushstrokes are that of an amateur simply trying to copy another's work. And as
she's
well...
squinting and looking, and it's like, yes.
And also, if you look at the signature, it doesn't match the original painter's signature down in the corner there.
And she says, you are familiar with painter's signatures. I think this is very interesting. I have been an appraiser for a long time, but I could not tell that this was fake. I have an offer for you.
Oh?
President Cleveland, this is on the down low. He just bought a number of paintings, and I cannot determine whether they are fake. Would you gentlemen care for a job in Washington?
I'm coughing out my whiskey. I just stomp on Josephus's foot after there's been a silence for a second.
My eyes are wide, and I'm like straight up in the chair, and I say, "Well, that sounds like a wonderful idea."
She says, now the pay is only modest, but it will be a permanent position, and if you are enrolled, you may end up serving multiple cabinets, and I think that you are the men for the job.
If you say so, then so it is.
Oh, yeah,
Oh.
I'm shaking my head, nodding along.
Magnifique.
Magnifique.
And after that, she smiles, and then she looks at you, Deacon, and says, "Can I buy your handsome friend a drink?"
Yeah, I just smile at her and I stand up. Yep.
See, only if he will allow you to.
Now, we are with Floyd. He is in Illinois, and he has moved in with, for the time being, his sister and her husband, an Irish chap who has come over for engineering work. They have a small ranch, but there is enough room for Floyd. And I guess a question I have to ask Floyd is, did Hector come with you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as I was leaving town, I was whistling for him the whole way out. So, yeah, no, I brought him on the long, arduous journey from Big Fork all the way to Illinois.
The ranch here does not compare to the Davis Ranch in Big Fork. It's more modest, and it isn't where you grew up. But it is something that your sister and her husband put together themselves. And it's something that you are finding immense satisfaction in also building up yourself. You don't know if you plan on staying there full time, or if you'll start your own ranch, or maybe do something else altogether. But after the experience you had, it is a welcome relief, and it is also a welcome relief to get away from Big Fork. Even if you have some positive memories there, for the time being, a shadow hangs over the town. And one morning, you and your sister are discussing general news, and God, do you remember her name?
Jennifer.
You and Jennifer are just discussing your general life. She's pregnant at the minute, and let's say Marcus, her husband, says, "You two got a lot of heady, eh?"
I mean, not too much. I mean, it'll be going around. We got a couple calves I gotta be wrangling around, especially getting ready for y'all's little calf to be coming, but today should be a pretty easy day.
He affectionately rubs your hair and says, "Well, I'm out. Eden Gabral,"
See you around, man.
as he starts to walk out the door.
Huh. Now, why would he call me Aaron Gerbrow?
And your sister looks at you and says, "He didn't call you that. It's a saying."
It's a saying?
It means Ireland forever.
Oh.
And Floyd, you remember the story of the artist Donnie Flynn that painted their one true love before tragically ending their life. And you have just the most itching hunch. And you run over to the living room where the crummy, what's the word I'm looking for? You run over to the living room where the unimpressive, modest painting of a little stone house that you were handed by the Nesmond brothers has been put up in a makeshift frame. Mm-hmm. And your trembling hands turn it over and pull it out the frame because you remember there was no note from the Flitkin Association on this painting. And when you turn the painting over, you see written in pencil in the corner are the words "Ireland forever."
I think Floyd just sits there staring at this, recollecting all of the craziness that has transpired over the past few months. Turns around and slowly walks back into the kitchen holding the painting. Jenny, I think we're set for life now.
A carriage travels along a wooded road in Montana. A masked figure pulls up in front of it in a horse, with the carriage coming to an abrupt stop. After a brief little exchange, another figure comes up masked on horseback. The woman hands over a few dollars and a few coins to the men, looking perturbed. The men on their horses arrange themselves in front of the carriage where they both pull off their masks, both beaming wide in a smile. And they say in unison, "First, we'd like to thank you for handing us your treasures. Then we'd like to apologize for ruffling up your feathers. If you can find it in your hearts, we'd like you to forgive us. But if you cannot find it, well, at least you will not miss us. We are the Nesmond brothers, full of wit and guile, and with your riches we ride off and leave you with a smile." As they begin galloping off, and the woman who initially looked angry and annoyed and depressed then looks more annoyed with herself as she cannot help but crack a chuckle. This has been RPG Roulette, Martingale.
So that was the calling card.
Thank you so much for listening to the final 2 episodes of Martingale. What an absolute blast this series has been. And just one last giant heartfelt thank you to Will Donaldson for coming onto our little show and doing this with us. What an honor it's been to be able to send off Dead in the West with its creator. Just, what a cool little thing that we got to do. So thank you, Will. Yes, please, everyone, go support Will. Go buy Dead in the West. It's a fun game. And go check out Will's YouTube channel, and for not, a million thank yous. And thank you guys for listening, for joining us on this journey. But now's the time of the episode where I move on to the announcements and things coming in the future. So, first off, I want to thank our high rollers on the Patreon, Grant Robertson, Mr. Grant Howell, Tabor TCU, and Monohim. Your support helps pay the bills. So thank you guys very much. And speaking of the Patreon, if you want a tiny little special backtrack episode with Will, going over the behind the scenes of this series, Martingale, you can check that out on our Patreon. So that one's for you, patrons. So what's coming in the future? What are our announcements? Well, our next big roulette series is right around the corner. We have pushed it back just a tiny little bit because, we had a lot of fun making Martingale. So much so that we lost track of time a little bit, but that's okay. If you're new around here, that happens from time to time, and, we just roll with it. So, when can you expect our next big series? Well, we will have decided by Friday. That's the truth. Because on Friday, this Friday, April 22nd, at the time of release, that will be when we are releasing the trailer. Finally, we're releasing the trailer for Zero. So keep an eye out on social media. Keep an eye out on our YouTube channel. In that trailer will be the release date for Zero that we will have decided upon by then. And so keep an eye out for it. We're super excited for you guys to see what we have in store with our next big roulette series. And we're super excited for you to listen to those episodes, because we are releasing the first 3 episodes of Zero on premiere day. That is so that all of you new listeners out there can get a taste right from the get-go of what our roulette style is like, when it's not just one person being the game master. Because it sounds really chaotic, and sometimes it is, but sometimes it really works. So we're excited for you guys to get a taste of that coming up really, really soon. But I think that's the biggest part of the update. If you are a new listener, thanks so much for stopping by. This is a fun show that we make, and we're glad you're here listening with us. Yeah, if you haven't listened to a roulette series yet, I highly recommend you start with Zero as we come out. You know, we've been doing this for a while now. We've gotten pretty good at it, I think. Yeah, or you know what? If you just loved this Dead in the West stuff, go back and listen to Red Bat. We got 40 episodes of cowboy shenanigans where we follow most of the rules of the system. But yeah, I think that's all the announcements I have. I had a list, and I went through all of it, and I said them all. So yeah, thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you again with the first episode of RPG Roulette 0.